What's going on, football fans? Welcome to Football Talk Central. I'm your host, PJ, and today we are talking about team needs, plus the latest signings and trades in the NFL. Let's get right to it. Here are the teams I feel made the biggest improvements via trades or free agency. That's right, Pizza up, A-Town down. Hot Atlanta is now scorching after they signed former Charger running back Michael Burner Turner. Unless they shore up the offensive line and quarterback positions, I don't expect that great of a season. Other Atlanta signings include former Houston cornerback Von Hutchins, former Jet safety Eric Coleman, a good blocking tight end formerly of Houston named Ben Hartsock, and the re-signing of quarterback Chris Redman. They're far from filling all their key needs, but with the Turner signing, they could focus more on other key needs, such as a franchise quarterback, offensive tackle, inside linebacker, offensive guard, defensive tackle, strong safety, defensive end, cornerback, center, and a pass-catching tight end to fill Algie Crumpler's void. They have a long way to go, people. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers. They helped their front seven by signing big-time defensive end Justin Smith. They had a hard time getting to the quarterback, so expect Smith to have an immediate impact. On the offensive side of the ball, new Niners offensive coordinator Mike Martz got one of his ex-marquee players back under his wing after they signed wide receiver Isaac Bruce. He should be an improvement over last year's number ones, Darrell Jackson and Arnaz Battle. The Niners still could use a young playmaking wide receiver, a free safety, an offensive guard, and outside linebacker to compete with an underproducing Tully Bantakane and a cornerback. The Oakland Raiders filled a few key needs by signing Super Bowl champion defensive back Gabriel Wilson, former 49ers offensive tackle Kwame Harris, and former Denver wide receiver Javon Walker. They still need to upgrade their defensive tackles because opposing offenses ran all over them last season, averaging 5 yards per carry. They could also use an outside linebacker and maybe another wide receiver to help out Javon Walker and Ronald Curry. A little boys to men for you. Introducing the Eagles. They landed one of the most sought-after free agents, cornerback Asante Samuel. They also signed former Raiders linebacker Chris Clemens. As far as needs go, McNabb said it best. They need weapons, a big possession wide receiver to be exact. I could see them picking Malcolm Kelly out of Oklahoma or even Devin Thomas of Michigan State. Other needs include defensive end and a good offensive tackle to prevent McNabb from being sacked 50 times in a game like what happened against the Giants.
Buffalo soldier,
The Buffalo Bills added size to their front seven by adding defensive tackle Marcus Stroud, defensive tackle Spencer Johnson, and linebacker Kawika Mitchell. They could use help at the outside linebacker, receiver, and tight end positions. St. Louis added much-needed depth at their offensive line by signing former Titan offensive tackle Jacob Bell. They also found a replacement at kicker by signing Josh Brown, formerly of the Seahawks. The Rams have a lot more rebuilding to do after last year's 3-13 abomination. They need another offensive tackle, a young wide receiver, a new center, since both of theirs became free agents, a cornerback, a safety, and a linebacker. Sorry, I couldn't find any catchy songs about Jacksonville. I guess I can do that rawr thing, but anyway, the Jaguars found some new targets for David Garrard. They signed former Oakland wide receiver Jerry Porter and traded with Minnesota for former first-rounder turned bust Troy Williamson. They also signed former Chargers cornerback Drayton Florence, former Bears defensive tackle Jimmy Kennedy, and former Dolphin quarterback Cleo Lemon. They could use a cornerback opposite Mathis, an upgrade at strong safety, and a right guard.
Miami. South Beach, bringing the heat.
Welcome to Miami. The Dolphins added a lot of new faces to their roster, including nose tackle Jason Ferguson, wide receiver Ernest Wolford, guard Justin Smiley, and quarterback Josh McCown.
Cleveland rocks, Cleveland rocks.
This next team would make Drew Carey proud, and that is the Cleveland Browns. They lacked a true run stuffer, but solved that problem by trading away Lee Biden and a third-round pick to the Detroit Lions for defensive tackle Sean Rogers. They also gave up a second-round pick for defensive tackle Corey Webster. On the offensive side of the ball, they signed wide receiver Dante Stallworth. Now, there was a lot of concern about them losing Jamal Lewis and Derek Anderson, but the Browns did the smart thing by re-signing both players. Now, if they have the same fire they had last season, I can see them contending for that top spot in the AFC North. The one pick they have left in the 2008 draft, I could see them either going defensive end or outside linebacker. And finally, the team I think improved the most, my New York Jets. It became evident that they needed to replace a few players at certain positions. So far, they traded away draft picks to the Panthers for nose tackle Chris Jenkins. They signed perennial Pro Bowl guard Alan Faneca, another Pro Bowler fullback Tony Richardson, former first-round pick offensive lineman Damian Woody, who was to play right tackle, and an outside linebacker who broke out last season, Calvin Pace. There was one move I questioned, and that's the trading away of Jonathan Vilma to the Saints. I think we could have got a lot more for that guy, but then again, he was injured, so makes sense. Currently, our key needs are down to just a defensive end, wide receiver, cornerback, and middle linebacker. Some may argue quarterback, but I have faith in the almighty Chad. Sure, he may not have the strongest arm, but he is precise and smart. I've also heard many draft analysts say we could get McFadden. If this happens, that'd be great, but we're not at a desperate need. I think Thomas Jones and Leon Washington should be just fine and will be able to bounce back with that improved offensive line and signing a fullback Tony Richardson, who, by the way, blocked for Adrian Peterson and Chester Taylor. But McFadden would be pretty nice on our offense. Hey, we can move Washington to just a returner. Other notable free agent signings include tight end Algie Crumpler signing to the Tennessee Titans. Now, Vince Young needs weapons, and this is a start. Hopefully, Coach Jeff Fisher drafts a true number one wide receiver. Maybe we could see a Longhorn reunion between Vince and Limas Swede. Other needs include defensive end and depth at the running back to compete with Lendale White. We also have the Minnesota Vikings signing Bernard Berrien. He's a great deep threat, but has questionable hands. They could use a pass-rushing defensive end, a quarterback to compete with Tavares Jackson, and youth at the strong safety and nose tackle positions. Now, this team is one or two players away from being Super Bowl contenders, so watch out. The Super Bowl champion New York Giants signed Sammy Knight. Running back TJ Duckett signed with the Seahawks. If they don't replace DJ Hackett, they need to draft another wide receiver, maybe replace tight end Marcus Pollard, who can't even catch a cold. They need depth at defensive tackle and maybe defensive back and a kicker. Now, I asked some users of the Football Talk Central MySpace group about who they thought made the biggest improvements. So far, Travis from Jersey says Cleveland. Difficult takes a day, impossible takes a week. From Brooklyn says the Jets. Expect the best from Jersey says Atlanta. Josh from Oregon says the Browns. Aaron from Michigan says Jets and Cleveland. Adam Baum from Jersey ranks the top as the Saints, 49ers, and Jets. Evan from Illinois says Cleveland and Minnesota. And Emil from Pittsburgh says the Browns.